I know God has always used one person. He can use one person. So why couldn't he have used us? But I'm not going to take credit because all the honor and glory goes to God. When the Holy Spirit started coming to me, he would tell me things through, I'd be sitting up and all of a sudden I was capitalized with what he was saying to me. I said, well, he used one person. If I spoke something and wasn't sure of it, the Holy Spirit would bring me to it in the Bible. As big as this Bible is, how could I know where to find it at? And I was finding things that I had never, figured out where it was sometimes, but it would just point right to that. And then I would call that person back and say, well, you can find it in Genesis, so forth and so on. So that gave them confidence to go after what I had said. The church said to go out and minister. So when I went out, I went to a little church in the city. There was a lot of drug use and things like that. They didn't have much hope. And I told them, I said, yes, you can, because I know you can. You can make it. One of the young ladies that I was speaking to, she became an author of poems through the Holy Spirit. And she said every night she went home, she started writing things that the Holy Spirit told her. And so I says, well, you need a typewriter. And so my daughter and I, we took the typewriter to her. And she wrote this book of poems. And this is volume 6. I raised all these little children. I have pictures of some of my babies that they call me grandmother. Here's one little girl now. She has 2 children now. And here's my granddaughter. And here's one that calls me grandma. And then this boy here, he's up there on the wall, the Washington Post. And here he was when he came to me. Here he is when he came to me, and this is how he looks now. And I even had a set of twins, and I didn't know what to do with them. Here they are. And one would cry, and the other would say, don't you see my sister crying? You better take care of her first. And it was so that the largest one, she wanted me to feed the smaller one first. And so she would look over and kick and look, and I says, well, what do you want? And then when I started feeding her, she came bigger than her sister that was fat. And I had a delight in them. I met up with a lot of babies. Now here's a little girl. Her mother was in the streets, didn't have anywhere to go. And my foster boy, he has a lot of traits behind me. He says, oh, he brought her here in all these cardboard boxes and things. And I said, where are you going? He says, she don't have any place to live, Grandma. And so I said, well, okay, then you come on in. And she was about 4 months old, this little girl. Her mother, I was telling her that I could not let her stay here unless she forgave her mother, because her mother was on drugs and things, and she said her mother was taking all the money, and so she just couldn't stand her mother, you see. But I told her she could not stay here in my home unless she forgave her mother. So she went and she forgave her mother. And after that, God exalted her. She was able to get an apartment of her own, a beautiful place. They gave her furniture and everything. And she took that little crib that I gave this little girl, and she has a beautiful home. She's working, and she's doing fine. And this little girl runs in the house and calls me Grandma now. And she's 3 years old now. And this little boy, he was really sweet, and his name was Isaiah. And here I am with him. And he went to school, and he brought me beautiful pictures home. And Jeanette said, Mom said, you're giving him a Marriott breakfast. That eggs, bacon, everything. She said, you're feeding him like he's staying at the Marriott Hotel.
I could talk all day
about he is, look.
This wonderful woman.
There he is when he came to me. That's the picture of him.
If it weren't for her, honestly, I wouldn't know where I would be. I wouldn't know who God is in my life now. From the young ages, she took us to church all the time and practiced God with us daily. And I mean, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have the structure and the stabilization I have now. I mean, I'm human. I have my faults. You know, I strayed away. I didn't realize that God was there for me the whole time. And it's like now, knowing that I'm just beating time to run back and tell Him thank you and thank Him for everything and just keep moving forward and let Him use me. But it wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for Miss Lewis, because my parents weren't there for me. I know, Grandma, but we doing an interview.
Oh.
My parents weren't there. My mother and father were addicts, and so you know, Grandma took me into her home, and she loved us like her own. She had my little brother and my older sister, and she kept us together. If it wasn't for her keeping us together, I wouldn't know who my biological family is today. So I mean, all credit goes to God, but I feel like God puts people in your place for a reason, and I'm just truly honored to be in the presence of this lady and to know everything that God has used her for and how she's been in my life and showed me so much. I'm truly grateful.
Year 2006, and I went to the doctors, and so they said that Mrs. Lewis says, I hate to tell you this, they said, but we found cancer. And I says, cancer? And he says, yes. He said, did you hear me? And I said, yes, I heard what you said, I have cancer. He says, but you haven't said any. He says, well, you have colon cancer. I says, well, all right. And so he says, we're going to have to operate tomorrow morning. I says, okay. So he said, well, why are you so? I says, Father in heaven, I says, whatever course that I have to bear, I know that I can get through it with you. I says, if you know what's going to be so nice about it, doctor? If I don't make it, I'll be in a better place. So either way, I'm a winner. And he said, huh? He said, miss? I said, that's right, I'm a winner, because I know I'm going to heaven. I says, I know this without a doubt. And I said, so therefore, if I come out, I'll be able to testify in God's behalf. But if I go home with them, I'll be there forever. And so they took that through the hospital, you know. One day the doctor says, Mrs. Lewis, I don't want to see you in here no more. He says, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Easter. And so that was the story of the cancer. And I'm still here, and that was in 2006, and now it's 2014, and I'm doing fine.
That my goal and mission now is to empower our youth, is to reach out to the younger generation and let them know that in the midst of everything that's going on, your parents may be there, may not be there, God is always there, and He loves you, and He will cover you and give you everything you need.
My name is Jeanette Baker, and Barbara Lewis is my mother. Everybody that comes here feels very comfortable. I tell the young people, if you lean on the Holy Spirit for making those decisions in your life, then you will have all the blessings that God has bestowed for you that will come in an abundant way.